Jamming on two chords doesn't have to be boring, especially when you bring in some of Bob's signature tricks. I mean, take a super common way people play just two chords, you know, like something like this. You know, compared to how Bob might approach it. So I'm going to show you how you can add the same kind of musicality, this tension and release and movement that Bob does in just a few easy steps. So knowing how to navigate the fretboard using bar chords is where you want to start. So, you know, in this case, we're just doing A to D, all right? So you'd be playing this A in the E shape, if you know your cage system, like this, and then this D in the A shape, or you could play it, you know, like this. We could play the A up here, like that, in that C shape. And then you can play the D here. Or you can play it, you know, like that. So this is, you know, it's a good start getting you on the fretboard, but the only thing is that it still really locks you in. So the first step is to break free like this. So what I was doing was just using triads. It's just the basic building blocks of chords. Tri meaning three, right? So a 3-note chord. So taking this A right here in the E shape, right? And then just playing these 3 notes right here. That would be an A triad, right? And you could also play these 3 up top here. That would just be what they call an inversion. It's flipping the notes around. Or this one right here. Although they're not all, like this right here is a power chord, but you have these, and these, right? And we can be much more intentional, more musical with this stuff and connecting between the chords too. So then the D, you got this cage shape right here, and you just play simply those 3, right? Or we can move around, you can play these 3 from here. So now you have this to this, or this to this. You've got options, or that to that. You can already hear we've got options. We've got movement. We can be more melodic and intentional, you know. And then we can go further. Play this shape up here to here, or this one to here. And this is just based off. Okay, you've got this shape right here. Just playing these 3 down to this shape, and then just playing those. Or this one here goes up here, here. You get the idea. They're just all over the place, and you don't need to know them all over the place. You just need to know, like, you know, 1 spot to start with, of course, and then 2, maybe 3, and 3 different areas that really, really will open things up. So the first step is to start learning some triads. Now, using these triads, it frees your hands up and allows you to be more musical and intentional, but only playing the chords as they happen can still make you kind of boxed in. Like if you see an A, you play an A, see a D, you play a D. Luckily, there's a triad trick Bob uses all the time. So, in a nutshell, what I was doing there was adding a G chord over the D chord. So this is, you know, just the jam part from Mississippi Half Step, if you didn't, you know, recognize it. And it's just so common. It's just, you know, on the surface, the key of A, right? So it's an A to D, a 1 to 4, they call it, you know, 1 chord, and then going up 2, 3, 4 scale. The chord built on the 4th scale degree, so that's what a 1-4 is. So common. But with like the majority of the dead tunes, it's really not in the key of A. It's not in the key of a major key. It's a mixolydian thing. That's the mode that they're using. So there's a G in there, right? So instead of G sharp, that major seventh, it's a flatted seventh, a G. Even though they're not playing that chord, it's just A to D, but they're playing, you know, sometimes it's mixed in there. Either Bob's doing it or whoever's playing keys. And then when Cherry's soloing, he's not playing that G sharp. He's focused on playing the G, the flat seventh, if he's playing that, you know, kind of at all. So the place that works really well is when you're on the D chord and then going, and not playing the big full boxy G, but again, just the triad. So sometimes playing the D and then just throwing it real in passing. It gives it a really colorful sound and gives it some tension release, gives it some movement, and you could think of that as the 4 chord of the 4 chord, right? If you were in the key of D, the 4 chord of D would be G. So it's the 4 of the 4, if that makes sense. So common. You hear piano players do this just all the time. It's just second nature for them. But for a lot of guitarists, they don't bother. They're focused on bar chords, again, getting really boxed in. So when you loosen things up with the triads, it makes it so much easier to move around and add these things in there. And you know, that's just one spot right here. But then if you do it over here, like that there, so soulful. You know, it sounds like the Doobie Brothers, right? And up here, things like that, right? So try adding that in there. Just that one chord in, you know, 1 to 3 different positions will give you so much mileage. So step 2 is adding the 4 of the 4 triad. If you're curious how I've learned triads all over the fretboard really fast, it's the cage system. But how can you learn the shapes and triads even faster than I did? My free cage cheat sheet will get you there. Just check out the link in the description to get it now. To really get the vibe of the way Bob would improvise with the dead, you really got to be able to play freely. And we're getting there, but this next step will put the icing on the cake. So what I was doing was adding sus notes, both sus2 and sus4. So for the A, adding this note right here, either as is or you're kind of just picking around it, adding a melody right in there, right? Adds a little tension and some movement. And then for the D, adding that G triad actually adds the sus notes there. But a lot of times I would hear him adding this E on top. Sometimes like that, either as is or, and that's just a sus2 in relation to D. It's like if you play your open D like this, take your finger off, that's a sus2. Sus4, regular D, sus2, right? And then here it is. There's just a different way of playing it, right? And then, you know, just knowing it in different spots, like up here, here is your A, right? Here is your sus4. So knowing, you know, where the third is, you know, that's super helpful. And just knowing 1 fret up. And sometimes on the D, he would add sus4 to sus2, you know, varying it up, but focusing on the sus4 for the A chord. Right? And that just adds even more movement to freeze things up, especially if you want to play kind of single notes between things and make it a little more melodic and really be weaving in and out of whoever's soloing and things like that. So step 3 is adding sus notes. You know, Bob Weir's tricks for jamming over 2 chords have really opened up how I improvise, even for playing leads. But these will only get you so far because there's a mindset he has that sets him apart from most guitarists. So check out this video here where I show you what it is and how you can use it to improve your playing even more.